the most insane car collection in baseball to marrying a Victoria's Secret supermodel. This is the insane private life of Justin Verlander. Hit the intro.
Ground ball to third. Toro is there. Justin Verlander, his third career no-hitter.
But before we get into his private life and the luxury lifestyle, we gotta start where this story really begins. Justin Brooks Verlander was born on February 20th, 1983 in Mannequin-Sabo, Virginia. But one childhood moment made his father realize something was different. One day at a park, the two were throwing rocks across a pond. Then Justin stepped up and launched his rock all the way to the trees on the other side. That was the moment his father realized his son might have a special arm. To help him develop, his father enrolled him at the Richmond Baseball Academy. And by high school, he had a fastball that reached 86 miles an hour. And that's when one of the craziest stories from his early days happened. Verlander once borrowed 50 cents for a chocolate milk and jokingly wrote his friend a contract promising 1% of his future signing bonus. Years later, he actually made good on it and paid $3,000 for a 50-cent chocolate milk. And before any of that could happen, he committed to pitch at Old Dominion University. In a game against James Madison Dukes, he struck out 17 batters, setting a school record. And by the time his college career ended, Verlander had thrown 427 strikeouts, the most in school history. And in 2004, the Detroit Tigers made their decision. And now for the clips that turned him into a viral sensation.
22-year-old rookie making his major league debut is Justin Verlander.
He made just 2 starts in 2005, and neither went well at all. But Detroit had seen enough. The following spring, Verlander made the roster out of camp. And by the end of his first full season, he had won American League Rookie of the Year and helped lead the Tigers all the way to the World Series. It was a huge rise, but the real shift came the next year. In June of 2007, Verlander took the mound against the Brewers. By the final out, he had thrown the first no-hitter of his career.
2. High fly ball, right field. No-hitter for Justin Verlander.
That clip changed everything. But then the momentum stalled. In 2008, Verlander led the league in losses. He was still electric, but now the question was whether he could turn raw power into lasting dominance. The answer came over the next few years. In 2009, he led the majors in strikeouts. In 2011, he threw his second no-hitter and won both the Cy Young and MVP.
2-2 pitch on the way. Swing and a miss. Verlander has done it again.
Then came October. In the 2012 ALDS, the Tigers faced Oakland in a winner-take-all Game 5. Verlander took the ball and delivered a complete game shutout.
Tonight, Justin Verlander was the man and the biggest complete game of his season.
A year later, he did it again.
Justin Verlander pitched well in this spot last year, shutting out the A's,
carving up the Athletics in another Game 5. Then following it up with another dominant start against Boston in the ALCS.
Struck out 6 in a row.
Verlander had become the kind of pitcher who always seemed to end up in the biggest games. But then something changed. By the middle of the decade, the velocity dipped. The injuries started showing up.
It hit home plate umpire Bill Welke's hand, and Verlander went diving for it and tweaked something.
And the aura that once made him feel untouchable began to fade. Then came the strangest moment of his career. In 2015, Alex Rodriguez recorded his 3,000th career hit off Verlander. It was one of those clips that played everywhere, and not for the reason Verlander wanted. By that point, people were starting to wonder if his best years were behind him. But then came the reset. At the 2017 trade deadline, the Tigers sent Verlander to Houston. And almost immediately, the old version of Verlander came roaring back. In the ALCS against the Yankees, Verlander struck out 13 in a complete game victory. Then, with Houston facing elimination in Game 6, he threw 7 shutout innings and forced a Game 7. The Astros reached the World Series, and Verlander was named ALCS MVP. They defeated the Dodgers to win their first World Series in franchise history. In 2019, he threw his third career no-hitter.
Ground ball left side, waiting on a Toro, and that is the ball game. A no-hitter!
Then came another twist. After Tommy John surgery wiped out almost 2 full seasons, Verlander returned in 2022 at 39 years old. Most pitchers do not come back the same after that. Somehow, he won another Cy Young. And when the Astros finally closed out the World Series, he added a second ring to his Hall of Fame career. Following the season, he signed with the Mets, only to be traded back to Houston months later. He continued climbing the all-time leaderboards, even reaching 3,500 career strikeouts while pitching for the Giants.
Strikeout number 3,500.
In 2026, the story came full circle when the Tigers brought him back to the franchise that drafted him more than 2 decades earlier. But what we really want to know is how the dude spends his cash. And when it comes to real estate, this guy doesn't mess around. His most famous property sits high in Beverly Hills. The mansion cost over $11 million and once belonged to tennis legend Pete Sampras. And the property was built for serious entertaining. Outside sits a full-size private tennis court, a massive resort-style swimming pool, and a separate guest house for visitors. Palm trees surround the property, giving the backyard the feel of a private luxury resort hidden in the hills above LA. But the most impressive property in his portfolio might actually be in Florida. In 2021, Verlander purchased a custom-built mansion in Jupiter for $6.55 million. The estate sits along the Loxahatchee River with 150 feet of waterfront and a private dock equipped with a boat lift and 2 jet ski lifts. Inside, the house includes a private gym, a game room with a wet bar, wine fridge, and pool table, and large glass doors that open the entire living space to the outdoors. And the backyard turns the property into a private resort. There's a heated pool and spa, a summer kitchen, covered lounge areas with motorized phantom screens, and even a private putting green built into the landscaping. And the neighborhood itself reads like a celebrity roster. His neighbors include Tiger Woods, Celine Dion, and golf legend Greg Norman. But when Verlander signed with the New York Mets, he expanded into Manhattan, and we actually got a full inside look at the entire place. He purchased a luxury Upper East Side penthouse for $16.75 million, giving him a New York residence just minutes from Citi Field. The penthouse includes multiple private terraces overlooking the city skyline, a library, and a private theater, giving the apartment the feel of a luxury townhouse floating above Manhattan. But what's a bunch of homes without any cars? After signing his first contract, he went out and picked up this Ferrari 458 Italia, a $350,000 supercar and arguably Ferrari's greatest modern design. Then he turned things up. Verlander added a Lamborghini Aventador Roadster, one of Lamborghini's most aggressive drop-top supercars. He also owns a Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG, famous for its signature gull-wing doors. His favorite car is a custom 1967 Ford Mustang Eleanor, the iconic movie car from Gone in 60 Seconds. And then came the crown jewel. He got his hands on a Ford GT, one of the most exclusive cars Ford has ever produced. And he dropped an insane $819,000 just to add it to his collection. But the cars are just the loud flex, because the real money is sitting right on his wrist. Verlander has been spotted wearing a Rolex GMT Master 2 on a Jubilee bracelet, and a Rolex Day-Date President. But after winning the 2022 World Series, Verlander showed up to the White House wearing a Patek Philippe Grand Complications. But his favorite pieces of jewelry are his World Series rings. The 2017 ring is set in 14-karat gold, featuring 214 diamonds, 11 baguettes, and custom stones that tell the story of their first ever championship. The 2022 ring is even more insane, featuring 15.3 total carats, over 600 diamonds, 22 emerald cuts, and multiple hidden elements, including a detailed Minute Maid Park design. With its complexity and record-setting stone count, each ring costs $75 grand. And now for a peek into his personal life. And off the field, his dating life is the craziest in all of baseball. He's married to Kate Upton. They first met while filming a commercial for MLB 2K. Verlander was the face of the game, and Kate Upton was brought in for the shoot, and that's where they hit it off.
I'm here for the lobster.
Randy? Justin Verlander.
Kate, come on. Please, let me in. Cy Young, MVP.
Kate Upton is one of the most recognizable faces in modeling, landing multiple covers of Sports Illustrated swimsuit and becoming a household name almost overnight. But she didn't stop there. Upton transitioned into acting and built a mainstream Hollywood presence. She also became a major brand figure, working with top fashion and lifestyle companies while growing a massive following. So by the time she met Verlander, she wasn't just a model, she was one of the most famous women in the world. By 2016, the relationship had taken a serious turn. Verlander proposed with a massive 8-carat diamond ring worth $1.5 million, and he didn't go public with it right away. Upton actually revealed the engagement weeks later at the Met Gala, casually showing up with the ring on her hand and letting the world figure it out. But the timing of their wedding is what made the story unforgettable.
There's literally only one thing that could throw a huge wrench in all of our plans. It's just going to Game 7 of the World Series.
And guess where we went?
Sure enough.
He helped deliver Houston its first championship, and then immediately flew to Italy. They got married at the ultra-exclusive Rosewood Castiglione del Bosco, one of the most luxurious resorts in all of Italy. The two held a full multi-day wedding in Tuscany, turning a championship week into one of the most unforgettable stretches of his life, with the wedding setting the couple back a cool $3 million. Since then, she's been right there for everything, from red carpets and major events to sitting front row at playoff games. Kate has become a constant presence in his career. But before all of that, something extremely dark happened. In 2014, during the iCloud Celebrity Leak, private photos of both Verlander and Kate Upton were stolen and spread online, turning their relationship into a headline overnight. It was a massive invasion of privacy and one of the first real tests they had to face together. As for nowadays, things look very different. The two have built a more private, family-focused life centered around their daughter Genevieve. And in June of 2025, they welcomed their second child, a baby boy. He even just bought her a Ferrari California T, customized with a pearl exterior and tan leather interior. During his Detroit years, Verlander even became close with Eminem, as both became faces of the city at the same time. Off the field, he's a legit golfer, not just a casual weekend player, regularly playing in off-season rounds and has appeared in celebrity pro-am events, holding his own with a solid single-digit handicap. And now for some moments that caused some waves in his career. The biggest controversy came in 2017. Verlander has been one of the most vocal players in baseball about fairness and accountability. But later, it was revealed the Houston Astros, his own team, had been running a sign-stealing operation. He wasn't accused of directly participating, but he was in the clubhouse, and the team went on to win the World Series that year. And that's where the criticism came in. Because for a player who had publicly pushed for integrity in the game, many fans saw it as a contradiction, arguing he benefited from something he didn't do enough to stop.
I'm in that locker room. I see these guys after the game, dressing and undressing, and I never saw anything like that.
And to this day, it's the one mark that still follows his legacy. And that wasn't the only moment that drew attention. During his time with the Mets, there were reports he came off as distant in the clubhouse, with some teammates even calling him a diva over complaints about analytics and team structure. It even created some tension with Max Scherzer. Verlander later refuted the diva accusations. Now at this point, you gotta be getting excited about his career earnings. Because Verlander's career wasn't just dominant, it was incredibly profitable. Over the years, he signed multiple massive contracts, including a $180 million deal with the Tigers, and later, a record-setting deal with the Mets paying over $43 million per year. His MLB salary alone has brought in $409 million. And that's only part of the story. Off the field, he's partnered with brands like Under Armour and Rawlings, adding $1.5 million more in endorsements annually. Combine all of that, and his career earnings sit at $440 million, and a net worth estimated around $200 million. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Subscribe, and welcome to Athlete Lifestyle.